Imagine standing on trembling ground where the heavens rage and floodwaters prepare to sweep away all of humanity. In that darkest moment, when all hope seems to crumble, three women, the unnamed daughters-in-law of Noah, quietly keep the flame of faith alive. No one records their names in the Bible, yet they helped write a chapter essential to the survival of humankind. Why were they forgotten? And what made their silent journey a symbol of courage and redemption? The story you're about to hear is not just about a great flood, but about the sacred strength of women no one mentions. Don't look away from the screen, for sometimes it's the nameless who shape history. Beneath a sky draped in heavy gray, where thick clouds gathered like a warning of impending wrath, three slender yet resolute figures toiled through the final days before catastrophe. The small riverside village, once serene with its simple rhythms, now seemed to falter under howling winds and flashes of lightning near and far. Trees bent low against the gusts, doors rattled as if to burst, yet nothing could quell the anxious gazes fixed on the massive ark rising from the earth. Noah's work, deemed madness by all. In that chaotic scene, three daughters-in-law, sharp-witted Miriam, gentle Sarah, and vibrant Leah, shone as the sole beacons, carrying in their hearts faith and hope for a future still ripe with the promise of life. Miriam was no timid woman. Her eyes held the quiet pride of someone who'd faced countless trials, her bearing exuding a rare, confident strength. Each morning as dew clung to the leaves, she rose meticulously preparing meals for the family, double-checking the ark's final beams. Miriam's wisdom not only kept the construction on track, but also earned her admiring glances from villagers. Despite the mockery and doubt swirling around, she clung to a deep conviction. God will grant grace to the steadfast. Sarah, by contrast, was equally vital but softer in spirit. As the world around her seemed to teeter, she sought solace in tranquil prayers. Her crystalline voice rose each evening in the ramshackle wooden house, a melody summoning the earth spirit to comfort. When winds twisted violently, she calmly arranged her prayer books and lit incense, its fragrance wafting like an earnest plea. Her dream of a peaceful tomorrow wasn't confined to holy pages. Sarah kindled it through each soothing prayer in the still of night. Her unwavering resolve inspired those around her, urging them to hold fast, even for a moment. Then there was Leah, whose youth was a fiery blend of impulsiveness and brilliance. As darkness fell, she'd sneak to the riverbank, where the sand still bore workers' footprints, gathering broken wood and scraps of hemp for materials. She believed that while human strength had limits, ambition knew none. Her eyes burned with a desire to prove her worth. If they mock us, let our actions speak louder than pride. Her tenacity kept the ark's progress alive, igniting hope even as shadows seemed to engulf every corner of the world. The story's backdrop was a society that had turned its back on the Creator. People worshipped idols and materialism, forgetting sacred teachings, letting sin flood every place. Noah's Ark, painstakingly built, was not just a symbol of salvation, but a testament to absolute loyalty. As skeptical stares and jeering laughter echoed, only these three women stood unwavering by his side. They endured scorn from kin and neighbors, yet their faith in the prophecy never faltered. In the stillness of late nights, vivid dreams began to seep into Miriam's mind. She saw herself on the ark's deck, surrounded by an endless sea, its destructive power overwhelming. Waves towered, swallowing light itself. But amid the tempest, a radiant beam flashed, like God's merciful hand outstretched. The vision haunted her, stirring her heart. If this is a sign, we must trust and act, she resolved, determined to share the dream with her sisters-in-law, despite the risk of further doubt. The first conflicts arose not from the enraged crowds outside, but within the family. Leah's brother, once a respecter of village traditions, now raised his fist at Noah, calling him deranged. Leah didn't weep or rage. She stood silent, absorbing his disappointed glare, and quietly resumed her work. Sarah, though her heart sank, kept her ritual by the window, hands clasped in prayer, sending forth her longing for grace. Anyone trying to topple her faith hesitated before the serenity in her eyes, where a vision of a brighter future flickered. Each day, the ark grew, transforming a barren sand lot into a monument of hope. The clanging of hammers blended with the shrieking wind, a chaotic yet vital rhythm. As villagers gathered to scoff, the three women felt the sting, but they alone understood. The great flood would not only erase sin, but spark a chance for renewal. And they, though nameless, bore the faith of all humanity. Amid the desolation, Miriam's recurring dream of the ark amid raging waves and celestial light haunted her. She looked at Sarah and Leah, seeing in them the strength and perseverance she needed to hold fast. Through Sarah's fragrant incense, through Leah's nimble hands, Miriam believed faith wasn't fragile. It could bend the world, raising an ark amid fire. Each dawn, before the sun rose, the three women stepped onto the sand together, tirelessly building a symbol of salvation, proving that even if their names went unrecorded, their steadfast actions would leave an eternal mark in the river of history. As the first dappled rays of sunlight pierced the gray clouds, the riverside village erupted in an unusual cacophony. Rumors of the colossal ark Noah and his family tirelessly built had reached every ear. They called it lunacy, the futile thread of a madman's delusion. But words couldn't extinguish the fire in the villagers' hearts. They gathered in growing numbers, their faces alight with indignation. Shouts and jeers mingled with the clanging of shovels and hammers striking wood, as if to topple the once peaceful land itself. Miriam heard the uproar from afar, spotting the surging crowd advancing toward the worksite. She stepped onto the sandy expanse, her stance as unyielding as a rock in a raging current. With soft yet resolute words, she tried to ease the stifling air. "Please be calm. We're following God's command. You'll understand." But her words were cut short as the angry throng pressed closer, drowning her efforts. Taunts and jeers rang out, groups brandishing tools, demanding the ark's destruction, some edging near, ready to charge. Miriam's heart tightened, but she didn't retreat. Behind her stood the prophecy and her faith in a tomorrow yet to exist. While Miriam faced the mob, Sarah sank to the damp sand, eyes closed, hands clasped at her chest. She whispered prayers, soft, barely audible, yet resonating in the hearts of those still touched by compassion. In that moment, Sarah saw her, their once dearly loved, standing among the crowd, his face twisted with fury. He mocked Noah, calling him a lunatic, the valley sinner. Pain stabbed Sarah's heart like 1,000 knives, but she pressed her forehead to the earth, seeking a shred of peace amid the chaos. The clamor paused for a breath as Leah burst from the ranks, her eyes blazing with fervent resolve. She cared not for the danger lurking. Her sole focus was protecting her family, safeguarding the fated ark. Spreading her arms, her slight frame commanding, she shouted, "Don't touch the ark. This is God's grace for humanity." Her impulsive act startled the crowd, causing them to falter. For a fleeting moment, the air vibrated with a different frequency, perhaps stirred by the astonishing courage rarely seen in a young woman. But the pause was brief. The mob surged again, many glaring at Leah with hatred, as if she'd insulted their deepest beliefs. Just then the wind roared louder, as if heralding something more fearsome than human anger. Daylight dimmed, and suddenly a frantic rain poured, sweeping sand and dust across the worksite. People scrambled for cover, only to quickly turn back to the ark, driven by blind faith or insatiable curiosity. Miriam spun to Sarah, her voice low. "Don't give up. God is with us." Sarah nodded faintly, her heart still pounding. That night, as the village sank into the steady patter of rain and the wail of wind through thatched roofs, the three daughters-in-law found a moment for themselves. Sarah shivered, leaning against a weathered tree near the worksite's entrance. Amid the rhythmic rain, she slipped into a dream. A vivid vision unfolded. A gentle dove soared through a chaotic tableau of raging floods, clutching a vibrant olive branch in its talons. The branch swayed, whispering a promise of peace and redemption. Sarah awoke, eyes brimming with tears but aglow with newfound hope. The dove and olive branch seemed to affirm that, despite the terror of divine wrath, grace endured. The next morning, under a dawn peeking through the trees, the three women met in silence. Miriam gazed at Sarah, seeing a spark of renewed strength in her sister-in-law's eyes. Leah smiled, though her shoulders still trembled from the cold. All three understood. Sarah's dream was no mere illusion of an exhausted soul. It was a sign God urged them to persevere. Then Miriam voiced the question burning on her lips. If God chose us, why does he let us suffer so? The question didn't just echo among the three, but reverberated into the vast expanse, challenging their very faith. The initial conflicts weren't just battles with the furious crowd, but an inner struggle between faith and doubt. Sarah, who only yesterday knelt in desperate prayer, now wondered if her dream could banish fear. Leah, despite her fiery zeal, recoiled at the harsh loneliness of courage. She defended the ark alone, but it set her apart, more isolated than ever. Miriam, once steadfast as stone, faltered, seeing the wounds in her sisters-in-law's eyes. These silent women suddenly became victims of the very faith they held most dear. By noon, the skies churned with fierce winds, and glaring sunlight dried the sand into swirling waves. Some from the crowd returned, carrying their old fervor, threatening to demolish everything by force. But this time they faced the trio's unyielding resolve. Miriam stepped forward, her voice brimming with determination. This ark isn't mere wood and nails. It's a promise, a future. If you destroy it, you bury yourselves. Her words rang like a command, halting some in their tracks, though others grew angrier, vowing to settle the matter. The conflict cooled briefly, only to flare hotter. The clash between faith and hatred, hope and fear raged on. Each shout, each scornful laugh, each skeptical glance drove the three women deeper into their trial. They no longer fought just to build an ark, but for their very hearts, for a dream etched in a sacred promise. As night fell once more, they knew the battle was far from over. The wounds of faith remained raw, yet Sarah, Miriam, and Leah grasped a truth. They weren't just entitled to claim grace. They bore the duty to share that faith with others. The initial conflict wasn't the end, only the prelude to a grueling yet glorious journey. In this moment, they learned that the strongest faith isn't born in tranquility, but in the darkest storms. With hearts steeled, Noah's nameless daughters-in-law pressed forward, ready to face tomorrow, the day the flood would truly come. Under the silent veil of a twilight just faded, three slender figures, Miriam, Sarah, and Leah, gathered quietly at the edge of the worksite where the colossal ark was taking shape. Before them lay not just a cold, sandy expanse, but a symbol of hope in humanity's fate. Their determination to protect this sacred work bound three distinct souls into a silent yet steadfast collective. Miriam, with her razor-sharp organizational mind, devised a nightly plan. The women of the clan would split into small groups, discreetly covering newly erected wooden frames, pulling tarps, and dusting thin layers of sand to camouflage the ark from the prying, hateful eyes of the villagers. By the flickering glow of small oil lamps, they labored under darkness's cloak, evading even the closest enemy's notice. Night work was grueling, yet it brought Miriam more peace than any daylight hour. She moved lightly among the timber stacks, directing each drill and plying cut to keep sounds from echoing too loudly. The oil lamp in her hand flickered like a fragile candle, warming the group's faith. When Miriam appeared, all eyes turned to her, seeing a fearless commander in a battle against the tides. Few knew that during those long nights, she wrestled with unrelenting fear. Darkness could hide the ark, but not sudden peril. Yet her decisiveness anchored the others, emboldening them to brave danger for their shared ideal. Meanwhile, Sarah, the woman of unshakable faith, drew strength from scriptures and hymns. As night fell, she sat in a makeshift shelter, penning prayers on weathered brown paper, each inked curve summoning the spirit of heaven and earth. Her warm, low voice rose softly, blending with the patter of rain or the murmur of wind, weaving a gentle symphony amid nature's fury. Her hymns not only warmed the hearts of listeners, but infused Miriam and Leah with an unseen energy, reminding them that beyond fear lay a mighty hand of protection. In part, this was how Sarah steadied herself, shielding her soul from the chaos of the villagers' jeers outside. Not far off, Leah, the embodiment of youthful zeal, slipped into the dense forest bordering the village. Carrying a hand-woven basket, she gathered wild chestnuts, plucked water-loving leaves for temporary bindings, and sneaked into a friend's cellar to salvage dry wood scraps. Each time she crossed thorny fences, Leah felt her heart grip a blade. But to her, greater danger fueled her instinct to act. She knew that without stored food for stormy days, the family would starve. Without enough materials to reinforce the ark, it could collapse when floods came. So Leah defied every risk, bringing back bundles of dry grass and wood fragments, sustaining the rhythm of life and fueling the work on the edge of survival and death. One night, as the first drops of seasonal rain fell, Leah ventured into the familiar forest and stumbled upon shadowy figures. They were quietly piling half-burned logs against the ark, poised to set it ablaze. Their cunning couldn't escape her keen eyes. Without hesitation, Leah charged forward, her gaze blazing with fierce resolve, her voice urgent yet pleading. She spoke of Noah's prophecy, the coming flood, and the redemption awaiting those who believed. Each word, each vivid image from her lips was a tonic dispelling the night's chaos, planting seeds of faith in the hearts of a few still wavering. Some turned away, their eyes flickering with remorse. Others shifted, caught in sudden stillness, hesitant. When Leah left, they remained dazed at the crossroads of destruction or salvation. In that moment, a slender beam of light pierced the thick gray clouds, striking the ark's side. It glowed like a warm hand touching the wood, radiating a misty halo through the rain. Leah froze, gazing skyward, and seemed to hear a divine whisper, "I see you, and I do not forsake." This sacred sign not only bolstered her faith, but carried a message to every longing soul. In a way, that trembling light spoke for Sarah, Miriam, and Leah, proving their defense of the ark was neither wasted nor meaningless. In the days that followed, the three women leaned on each other to grow stronger. Miriam expanded a covert network, linking with a few trusted village families to hide materials and food in exchange for their silence. Sarah shared her dream of the dove and olive branch with brave believers, kindling hope amid spiritual storms. Leah not only gathered supplies but patrolled the perimeter, vigilant for strange footprints or shadowy plots. Their lives grew busier than ever, yet brim with purpose, as each act saved not just themselves but preserved the seed of future humanity. With hurried hands, they had little time to breathe. Each morning, as birdsong rang out, the three daughters-in-law rushed back to the worksite, eyes fixed on the ark, where new timbers were joined, new planks fitted tightly. The crisis had revealed their mettle. Miriam proved a commanding leader, Sarah sparked vitality through faith, and Leah turned courage into life-saving action. These qualities weren't just vital for the ark's survival, but lessons for anyone facing trials demanding bravery and belief in something greater. Amid the frenetic pace, they never forgot their heart's vow to protect the ark to the end. Each night, the faint clink of hammers echoed in the wind, raindrops stung their skin, but nothing could douse their burning resolve. For every hammer strike crystallized love and hope. Every nail carried Sarah's prayers, and every stealthy step of Leah's held a yearning to secure a future for generations to come. The story of these three nameless women in the Bible unveils a truth. They were not mere helpers, but silent pillars, shaping humanity's fate through action and faith. With organizational wisdom, steadfast belief, and blazing courage, they transformed a simple wooden structure into an invincible spiritual force. In today's world, we see ourselves in their image. When facing challenges, whether personal crises or collective upheavals, only courage and unwavering faith can carry us through. The actions of Miriam, Sarah, and Leah prove that whether you're a leader, an inspirer, or a silent doer, every contribution creates a turning point, bringing hope for the stormy days ahead. As the final rain faded and morning sun slipped through cloud gaps, the ark, thanks to the women's hands, stood ever sturdier. Its waterlogged timbers glistened like diamond-crusted relics. On the deck, the three figures stood together, gazing toward a new horizon. They smiled, needing no words, for their eyes spoke. Every hardship was worth it, for they had become messengers of hope and faith in a chaotic world. As twilight faded before the last red streak of sunset, the river suddenly stirred, transforming from calm to ferocious. The first massive waves formed, crashing ashore, sweeping away sand and stone, scattering the work site's wooden scraps. The colossal ark, outwardly sturdy, began to shudder violently, like a paper boat in a savage ocean. Each timber and joint creaked ominously, signaling imminent danger. Miriam stood at the bow, her eyes blazing with resolve yet brimming with worry, realizing the pivotal moment had arrived. This was no longer a race against time or unseen foes, but a life-or-death battle with nature itself. Water initially seeped through cracks, but soon surged into the hold, threatening to undo all their labor. Sarah, seated in a corner of the ark, felt the first drop splash her feet, their chill spreading through her. She pressed her lips, gazing at the ceiling as if seeking a sign. Was grace slowly unfolding, or was God's final threat drawing near? Her mind flashed to the dove soaring through the flood, bearing a steadfast olive branch. The image overflowed with hope, yet it quickened her pulse. Could her dream shield them in this chaotic moment? Leah, amid the ark's tremors, stumbled and fell on the deck. Kneeling, her vision blurred by water welling from the floor's edges, her heart churned with doubt. Suddenly, she cried out, "Does God truly want us to live?" Her question echoed through the pandemonium, reverberating against the howling wind, rousing every soul aboard. Leah rose, heedless of cold and fear, and looked to Miriam, her sister-in-law, facing the storm head-on. In that instant, silence broke. Every doubt, every anguish in their hearts burst forth in words and cries, as if challenging divine power itself. Amid the raging tempest, Sarah stepped forward, grasping Leah's hand. Her eyes radiated gentleness and resolve. No words were spoken, yet the air seemed to hush. Sarah knelt, touching the sodden planks, and whispered a soft hymn, just loud enough for her sisters to hear. The melody wasn't loud or grand, but gentle and pure, like a cool stream in a parched desert. It evoked memories of the olive branch, of a tender hand shielding them. Leah looked up, tears streaking her face, and saw hope flicker in Sarah's eyes. She recalled how they'd been called mad, yet now, amid the flood's fury, only faith and love kept the ark afloat. On the deck, Miriam stood like a steadfast beam. She signaled everyone to the center, urging them to hold each other for balance. Each creak of the wooden joints gripped her heart, but her resolve never wavered. Taking a deep breath, ignoring the wind whistling through gaps, the turmoil in her mind, she heard only the steady breaths of her fellow believers. A smile bloomed on Miriam's lips, a quiet affirmation. "We will overcome." Closing her eyes, she offered silent thanks, trusting the storm couldn't erase the goodness unfolding. Suddenly, when all seemed lost, a dazzling beam pierced the inky clouds. Not blindingly radiant, it was warm, gentle, like a candle in the dark. It grazed the ark's side, softly touched their faces, and carved a haven of calm amid the storm. The ark steadied, the floodwaters swirling around it seemed restrained, parting into two streams, yielding a path for the motionless vessel in the chaotic sea. The sounds of wind and water faded, giving way to a soul-deep chime of peace. In that moment, divine justice was no longer abstract. It stood vivid before them, saving the three women who beheld the miracle. Miriam opened her eyes, her trembling hand touching the ark's side. She looked at Sarah and Leah, their eyes alight with faith. She recalled her dream of radiant light from the heavens, now no longer a vision, but a kept promise. The flood still roared beyond, but it couldn't topple the ark. The waters, no longer ravenous, curved around the vessel as if obeying an unseen law. The ark became a safe island in the sea, a testament to the saving power granted to those who held fast to faith. In the sudden stillness, the three women embraced. Raindrops clung to their hair, mingling with tears of joy and gratitude. Miriam whispered, "We've proven faith is never in vain." Sarah, voice choked, replied, "Grace always comes in time." Leah gripped their hands, her heart bursting with a sense of a greater mission. Not only had the ark survived, but these women had opened a new chapter for humanity, one of hope and rebirth. The great work lay ahead. When the flood receded, they would step off the deck, walk amid the ruins of the old world, and sow seeds for the new. Humanity's spark would sprout from the courage, faith, and love Miriam, Sarah, and Leah had nurtured. They hadn't just survived. They'd become messengers bearing a sacred duty to rebuild the world on justice and grace. In today's world, their image amid the storm reminds us that in any crisis, be it natural disaster, pandemic, or personal turmoil, faith and steadfast action are the keys to solutions. We might be Miriam, resolute in preserving valued endeavors, Sarah, inspiring through song and hope, or Leah, risking all for the community's sake. Each of us can be a keeper of hope's seed, planting faith in others for something greater. As the final light dimmed in the post-storm sky, three figures stood firm on the deck, their wordless gazes saying all. They'd conquered fear, the tempest, and themselves. Behind them, the ark stood resolute in the sea. Before them, a new world awaited. In their hearts, a reminder of faith and courage's value would forever flourish like an olive branch that never wilts. As the ocean's wrath subsided and the waters stilled into a vast glassy mirror, the colossal ark rested securely on a desolate mountain slope. A pale dawn pierced thin clouds, gently brushing the planks still soaked with sweat and rain, revealing scars of the harrowing journey endured. Miriam, Sarah, and Leah stepped from the deck, legs trembling, but eyes alight with pride. They gazed at one another, then upward, beholding a radiant rainbow arched across the sky, a covenant and grace from the Almighty, proof of the promise, "I will never forsake humanity." In that sacred moment, the three women realized they were no longer mere nameless figures, but spiritual mothers of a new humankind. Miriam, with her brave heart and piercing intellect, saw herself as the lighthouse guiding the ark through tempests. Sarah, with her pure faith and heartfelt hymns, recognized she was the melody soothing wavering souls. Leah, with her bold actions and steadfast resolve, etched her role as a silent guardian, ready to sacrifice for the survival of family and community. They looked at each other, tears welling, feeling deeply that the fusion of wisdom, faith, and courage had wrought a miracle of salvation. The ark, once a humble wooden construct, now stood as a beacon of hope and new beginnings. On its dew-drenched deck, those slender figures stood tall, listening to the wind whisper through ropes and beams. The breeze carried a blessing, resonating in their hearts. "You have faced the trail. You have conquered fear." The rainbow stretched across the horizon, painting the sea with vibrant hues, sealing a vow. When faith is great enough, miracles find their way. The path ahead brimmed with challenges. As the flood receded, they would step into the wreckage of the old world. Homes swept away, fields turned to salt, human footprints mired in mud. Yet amid the ruins, Miriam, Sarah, and Leah sensed a profound duty to rebuild the world on justice and love. They were not just survivors of the deluge, but architects charting a course for the future. Miriam's wisdom became a compass for dividing land and organizing communities. Sarah's faith lit the spiritual path, uniting people through prayer and song. Leah's courage spurred them to rebuild homes, till fields, and offer future generations a second chance. This untold story of three biblical women is a testament to the hidden power of quiet faith. Amid seemingly insurmountable challenges, they chose to trust and act. They needed no acclaim by name, yet their actions echo through human history. Their tale reveals that divine justice doesn't merely punish sin. It always opens a second chance for those willing to change and commit. In today's turbulent world, the lessons of Miriam, Sarah, and Leah remain timeless. When facing life's floods, personal crises, loss, or collective upheavals like pandemics or disasters, each of us can find strength within. Let your own rainbow emerge, a belief in an ideal, a hope, or a dream vast enough to surmount any hardship. Be bold like Miriam, wise enough to face truth and chart a course. Hold faith like Sarah, steadfast and brimming with hope, and act with Leah's courage, ready to move even without knowing the outcome. When life storms encircle you, remember that in the darkest moments, the light of grace can suddenly shine, bringing new opportunities. Divine justice isn't eternal punishment, but a reminder. After trials comes hope. After night comes dawn. Let the story of these nameless women inspire you to see that in any circumstance, you can become a pillar igniting hope for others. Thank you, friends in the United States, for joining me in exploring this inspiring story. If you found motivation and valuable lessons, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video to spread faith and hope to more people. Let our community be a place to kindle faith, inspiring one another even in stormy times. May God bless your journey ahead. Next week, we'll dive into the story of another biblical heroine who dared to rise in her time to change history. See you in the next video.